Year 3 and 4, and welcome to another lesson of English. And James and the Giant Peach. Before we get started, you are familiar now with the next slide. So you need to make sure you have your pencil, your workbook, and definitely your brain switched on. Pause the video if you need to get your pencil and your workbook. Right, so today is Monday, 8th of February 2021, and our learning objective is to find and explain the meaning of words in context. So we're going to look at particular words or tricky words and try to find meaning in the text. So what are we going to do? We're going to look at some new vocabulary. We're going to read the chapter 22 together, and then you're going to do your independent task. Right. Look at these words. We've got crouching, hurl, delicate, harness, and dangle. Do you know any of these words? Pause the video and have a go. Which ones do you know, and what do they mean? Fantastic. Let's have a look at the first word. My turn, then yours. Crouch. Crouch is a verb and it means to bend close to the ground as to avoid detection or to defend oneself. Detection here means avoid to being seen. Okay, if you're hiding from someone, you would crouch. If you're defending yourself and trying to avoid to being hurt or getting hurt, you would crouch. Synonyms of crouch. Synonyms mean words that have the same meaning as crouch. So crouch synonyms are squat, bend, and huddle. There are other ones, but I've written 3. Next word, my turn and yours, hurl. Hurl is a verb and it means throw someone or something with great force. So throwing something violently or aggressively. Synonyms for hurl are throw, toss, and fling. My turn, then yours. Delicate. Delicate is an adjective, and adjectives, we use them to describe nouns. Delicate means fragile and easily damaged, like glass. Synonyms are fragile, breakable. My turn, then your turn. Harness. Harness is a noun and it means a set of straps by which a horse or other animal is controlled by its driver. If you look closely at the picture and the arrows, they are pointing at these leather straps. They look like belts and they're held by the lady and she uses them to control the ponies. Okay. Synonyms are equipment and gear. Dangle, your turn. Dangle is a verb, so it's an action word and it means hang or swing loosely, not very tight. Synonyms are droop and sway. Right, we're going to read chapter 22. Make sure you have your book with you and you are on chapter 22 reading along with me. In a few minutes everything was ready. It was very quiet now on the top of the peach. There was nobody in sight, nobody except the earthworm. One half of the earthworm, looking like a great, thick, juicy pink sausage, lay innocently in the sun for all the seagulls to see. The other half of him was dangling down the tunnel. James was crouching close beside the earthworm in the tunnel entrance, just below the surface, waiting for the first seagull. He had a loop of silk string in his hand. The old green grasshopper and the ladybug were further down the tunnel, holding onto the earthworm's tail, ready to pull him quickly in out of danger as soon as James gave the word. And far below, in the great hollow stone of the peach, the glowworm was lighting up the room, so that the two spinners, the silkworm and Miss Spider, could see what they were doing. The centipede was down there too, exhorting them both frantically to greater effort, and every now and again James could hear his voice coming up faintly from the depths, shouting, "Spin, silkworm, spin, you great, fat, lazy brute! Faster, faster, we'll throw you to the sharks!" "Here comes the first seagull," whispered James. "Keep still, earthworm, keep still. The rest of you get ready to pull." "Please don't let it spike me," begged the earthworm. I want. Shh." Out of the corner of one eye, James watched the seagull as he came swooping down towards the earthworm, and then suddenly it was so close that he could see its small black eyes and its curved beak, and the beak was open, ready to grab a nice piece of flesh out of the earthworm's back. "Pull!" shouted James. The old green grasshopper and the ladybug gave the earthworm tail an enormous tug, and like magic the earthworm disappeared into the tunnel. At the same time, up went James's hand, and the seagull flew right into the loop of silk that he was holding out. The loop, which had been cleverly made, tightened just the right amount, but not too much, around its neck, and the seagull was captured. "Hooray!" shouted the old green grasshopper, peering out of the tunnel. "Well done, James." Up flew the seagull, with James paying out the silk string as it went. He gave it about 50 yards and then tied the string to the stem of the peach. "Next one," he shouted, jumping back into the tunnel. "Up you get again, earthworm. Bring up some more silk, centipede." "Oh, I don't like this at all," wailed the earthworm. "It only just missed me. I even felt the wind on my back as it went swishing past." "Shh!" whispered James. "Keep still. Here comes another one." So they did it again and again and again and again, and the seagulls kept coming, and James caught them one after the other and tethered them to the peach stem. 100 seagulls, he shouted, wiping the sweat from his face. "Keep going," they cried. "Keep going, James." 200 seagulls, 300 seagulls, 400 seagulls. The sharks, as though sensing that they were in danger of losing their prey, were hurling themselves at the peach more furiously than ever, and the peach was sinking lower and lower still in the water. 500 seagulls, James shouted. "Silkworm says he's running out of silk," yelled the centipede from below. "He says he can't keep it up much longer, nor can Miss Spider." "Tell them they've got to," James answered. "They can't stop now." "We're lifting," somebody shouted. "No, we're not." "I felt it." "Put on another seagull, quick." "Quiet, everybody, quiet. Here's one coming now." This was the 501st seagull, and the moment that James caught it and tethered it to the stem with all the others, the whole enormous peach suddenly started rising up slowly out of the water. "Look out! Here we go! Hold on, boys!" But then it stopped, and there it hung. It hovered and swayed, but it went no higher. The bottom of it was just touching the water. It was like a delicately balanced scale that needed only the tiniest push to tip it one way or the other. "One more will do," shouted the old green grasshopper, looking out of the tunnel. "We're almost there." And now came the big moment. Quickly, the 502nd seagull was caught and harnessed to the peach stem, and then suddenly, but slowly, majestically, like some fabulous golden balloon, with all the seagulls straining at the strings above, the giant peach rose up, dripping out of the water, and began climbing toward the heavens. Your task. So you're going to find these words: exhort, depth, swoop, tether, sway, and majestic. So you're going to highlight them in chapter 22, and you're going to find meaning of each word in the text. So let me show you an example. So I've got an example here. So here is a frame that you could use. So you could draw a picture. So write your word in the middle, draw a picture, find meaning in text, find a synonym. So remember, synonym, a word that has the same meaning, and then finally write your word in a sentence. Use the word in a sentence. So let's look at the word exhort. So if we go here, so here is exhort. Right. So if we read this part, okay. So the centipede was down there too, exhorting them both frantically to greater effort. And every now and again, James could hear his voice coming up faintly from the depths, shouting, "Spin, silkworm, spin, you great, fat, lazy brute. Faster, faster, or we'll throw you to the sharks." So what is he doing here, centipede? He's trying to get silkworm to work harder and harder. So he is encouraging him, but by shouting at him. So exhorting here means encouraging him, okay? But shouting at him and threatening him that if he doesn't spin, he will be thrown at the sharks. Okay, so he's trying to make him work, so encouraging him to work harder and harder. So if you look at my example, so I've got a picture. You're going to draw a picture of centipede shouting and encouraging silkworm to spin more silk. You're going to write the meaning. So the meaning is encourage someone to do something. Synonyms, that the words that have same meaning as exhort are urge, warn, and advise. And then you're going to put the word in a sentence. The centipede exhorted silkworm to keep on spinning. You're going to do the same with the rest of the words. And then you go in to take a picture of your work and then send it in either the Year 3